In a surprising turn of events, Kawasaki, widely known for its iconic green motorcycles, has taken a bold step beyond two wheels. The Japanese manufacturer recently introduced a new concept vehicle called Corleo, a machine designed not only to traverse all terrains, but also to redefine the very idea of mobility.
Have you ever imagined that one day, instead of sitting behind the wheel of a car or holding the handlebars of a motorcycle, you would climb onto the back of a four-legged machine and let it carry you across roads that no car or motorcycle could ever reach? It sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie. But in April 2025, at the Osaka Kansai International Expo, one of the most legendary motorcycle brands in the world did something almost nobody saw coming. Kawasaki, the name tied to roaring ninja bikes on racetracks, stepped onto the stage not with a new motorcycle, not with a next-generation electric vehicle, but with a hydrogen-powered robot horse. Its name is Corleo, and it is not just an impressive engineering stunt designed to grab headlines. This is a statement about the future of personal mobility, about the role of clean energy in transportation, and about how the line between living creatures and machines is slowly starting to disappear. But what is really underneath that stunning exterior? Is Corleo a real step forward for humanity, or just a polished tech performance? What is Kawasaki aiming for by moving from motorcycles to machine horses? And more importantly, will something like this ever show up on real roads in our lifetime? Those are exactly the questions we are going to break down today, layer by layer. Before we get into the story, if you enjoy deep dive videos about technology, next-generation vehicles, and the future of energy, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. We upload new videos every week, and you do not want to miss what's coming next. The world is changing, and transportation is facing a quiet revolution. Let's start with the big picture, because to understand why Corleo matters so much, you need to see the larger problem it is trying to solve. We are living in an era where electric vehicles are being praised as the future of transportation. Tesla, Rivian, Ford with the F-150 Lightning, all of them are moving toward a world without exhaust fumes from internal combustion engines. And that is a real trend. There's no denying it. But there is one problem that not everyone talks about. Electric vehicles, no matter how advanced they become, are still limited by something extremely basic: 4 round wheels and flat roads. About 40% of the Earth's land surface has no paved roads. High mountains, swamps, remote rural areas, disaster-stricken zones, all of these places are massive blind spots for the entire modern transportation industry. No matter how beautiful a Tesla Model 3 looks, it will get stuck the moment its wheels touch uneven terrain. Even the most expensive off-road vehicles have their limits. This is the gap that humans filled for thousands of years with one thing: the horse. Horses do not need roads. Horses climb mountains, cross streams, move through wet mud. Horses sense the terrain and adjust every single step. And throughout human history, from ancient wars to polar expeditions, no vehicle has ever fully replaced the flexibility of a horse on difficult terrain. But in 2025, Kawasaki asked a bold question. If we cannot truly replace the horse, why not build a machine that moves like one? But to understand why that matters so much, we need to look at the core of the whole story, how the machine itself actually works. What is Corleo, and why is it different from anything we have seen before? When Kawasaki first revealed Corleo at the Osaka Kansai Expo, a lot of people reacted with stunned silence. Not because it was unimpressive. Actually, it was the opposite. It was so different from anything a traditional vehicle brand had ever done. Corleo is a 4-legged robot that can carry a human rider. That is the shortest way to describe it. But that alone is not enough to capture what has really been created here. Picture this. You sit on a saddle, one that feels very familiar, almost like a Kawasaki motorcycle seat with your hands on the handlebars and your feet placed on pedals that can be adjusted based on the rider's height. But underneath you, there are no wheels. There are 4 mechanical legs, and those legs are moving rhythmically, constantly, in a way you would expect from a living creature, not a machine. Each leg works independently. That part is extremely important. Unlike typical 4-legged robots, where the legs are coordinated by a rigid algorithm, each leg on Corleo can sense and adjust on its own based on the surface it is touching. If the front left leg lands on slippery rock, it automatically adjusts its force and angle so it does not slide while the other 3 legs keep doing their job normally. Corleo's feet are made from a special rubber material. Not round wheels, not hard metal, but a soft contact surface that can absorb shock and grip the ground. Inspired by the hooves of mountain climbing animals like antelopes or mountain goats, this design allows Corleo to stay stable even on steep slopes, rough rock, or muddy terrain. But the most interesting part is not the legs. It is how you control it. There are no complicated buttons, no touchscreen, no remote control. Corleo responds to your body. When you lean forward, it speeds up. When you lean left, it turns left. When you keep your body upright and gently pull the handlebar, it slows down and stops. According to people who experienced it at the expo, it feels almost like riding a real horse, but without requiring years of horse riding training. The center handlebar has a small display that shows 3 important pieces of information: how much hydrogen is left in the tank, the balance status of the entire machine, and the rider's weight distribution. This is not extra information for show, it is real-time data that the machine needs in order to operate properly. And at night, the integrated lighting system automatically illuminates the surface in front of each step, helping the artificial intelligence analyze the terrain more effectively while also keeping the rider safer in the dark. The entire body frame is made from a combination of ultra-light carbon fiber and durable alloy. The result is a machine strong enough to handle harsh terrain, but not so heavy that it becomes a burden to itself. At first, this may sound like just a smart design, but one small detail could change the entire game, and that detail is inside Corleo's power source. The secret is in the hydrogen tank. Why this is not a normal electric robot. This is the part that most articles about Corleo either skip over or only mention briefly. But this is actually the real difference, the factor that could determine whether Corleo becomes a true breakthrough or just a beautiful concept product that never reaches the market. Corleo runs on hydrogen. Not lithium-ion batteries, not gasoline, hydrogen. Inside the machine's body is a compact hydrogen tank about 150 centimeters long. The hydrogen is sent into a fuel cell where it reacts with oxygen from the air to create electricity. That electricity powers 4 independent electric motors in the 4 legs. The only byproduct of the entire process is water, clean water, with no harmful emissions. Now, you might ask, why not use a normal battery like a Tesla? The answer comes down to 2 words: energy density. Lithium-ion batteries are heavy, very heavy. To provide enough electricity for 4 robotic legs to keep operating on rough terrain for hours, you would need a battery pack so large that it would become a weight and balance problem on its own. Hydrogen, on the other hand, has much higher energy density by weight than batteries, meaning that for the same amount of weight, you can store significantly more energy. For a machine that needs to move flexibly, constantly balance itself on uneven surfaces, and carry a human rider, being lighter is absolutely critical. Hydrogen helps Corleo do that, but more importantly, there's also a long-term strategic reason. Kawasaki is not new to hydrogen. The company has been investing in this technology for years. In 2022, Kawasaki became the first company in the world to complete an international liquid hydrogen shipment using a dedicated carrier from Australia to Japan on a vessel called Suiso Frontier. That was a historic milestone in the clean energy industry. And it shows that hydrogen is not some random experiment for Kawasaki, it is a strategic direction they prepared for early on. They've also developed hydrogen motorcycles and fuel cell systems before, so Corleo is not a sudden leap into unknown territory. It is the natural convergence of 2 strengths that Kawasaki has been building for decades: robotics and hydrogen energy. And when you put those 2 strengths into one product, the result is something that can operate where both electric vehicles and gasoline vehicles struggle while producing zero pollution. But no matter how exciting a technology is, it does not mean much unless it can overcome the very real challenges standing in its way. The real challenges Corleo has to face. Let's be honest about something that many hype-driven tech videos tend to avoid. Corleo, right now, is still a prototype, and the gap between an impressive prototype at an expo and a real product available to the mass market, that gap is very, very deep. First, hydrogen cost and infrastructure. This is probably the biggest problem. For Corleo to work in everyday life, users need places to refuel hydrogen. Right now, the number of hydrogen stations in the United States is extremely limited, and most of them are concentrated in California. Unlike electricity, which you can charge at home through a wall outlet, hydrogen requires specialized, expensive, and complex infrastructure. Second, the technical complexity of carrying a person. Getting a four-legged robot to walk stably is already a huge engineering achievement. Boston Dynamics spent years making Spot able to move across rough terrain without falling. But adding a human rider on top with dynamic weight and a constantly shifting center of gravity is a completely different challenge. Every movement from the rider affects the balance of the whole system. Solving that in real time, continuously, for hours on changing terrain that requires extremely advanced hardware and top-level control algorithms. Third, speed and operating time. Kawasaki has not released any official technical specifications for Corleo's top speed, range, or operating duration. That does not necessarily mean the numbers are bad, but it does mean we do not yet have enough data to properly judge how practical this product really is. A real horse can run 25 miles per hour and keep going for hours. Can Corleo compete with that? Fourth, safety and regulation. A four-legged machine that carries a person and moves across any kind of terrain does not fit into any existing transportation rulebook. In the United States, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration regulates wheeled motor vehicles. The Federal Aviation Administration regulates flying devices. But Corleo does not belong to any category that currently exists. To bring it to the mass market, Kawasaki would need years of negotiation with regulators, a new legal framework, and a long list of safety tests that have never been done before. Fifth, price. Industrial four-legged robots like Boston Dynamics Spot cost around $75,000. Corleo, with a more complex hydrogen system and much higher safety requirements because it has to carry a person, will need a long time before its cost comes down to a level that makes sense for individual consumers. Kawasaki has been pretty honest about this. They have said they expect machines similar to Corleo could become common around the middle of the 21st century, meaning sometime in the 2050s. That is not a 5-year plan. That is a 3-decade vision. And this is where the race becomes even more intense, because Kawasaki is not the only company trying to dominate the future of wheelless mobility. Who else is in this race, and where does Kawasaki stand? To understand Corleo's position in the bigger picture, we need to look at the competitors and the different directions being pursued at the same time. Boston Dynamics is impossible to ignore when we talk about four-legged robots. Spot is currently one of the most advanced four-legged robots being used in real-world environments, at construction sites, in infrastructure inspections, and even in dangerous situations. But Spot is not designed to carry people. It is an industrial and inspection robot, not a personal vehicle. Atlas Spot's two-legged sibling is even more impressive as an engineering performance, but it is also not a rideable vehicle. Corleo is filling a gap that Boston Dynamics has not targeted. A four-legged robot designed for humans to ride across natural terrain. China's Unitree Robotics is also building four-legged robots and at much lower prices than Boston Dynamics. But similarly, they do not yet have a product in the rideable personal mobility category. Hyundai, the parent company of Boston Dynamics since 2021, has the resources and strategic direction to combine robotics with automotive mobility. In the long run, Hyundai may become Kawasaki's most serious potential competitor. And when it comes to hydrogen, this is where Kawasaki has a clearer advantage. Toyota has had success with the Mirai, a hydrogen-powered sedan, but in the field of specialized mobility and robotics, Kawasaki is ahead. Hyundai also has hydrogen trucks and is expanding into other applications. But no one has combined hydrogen with a rideable robot in the way Corleo does. What makes this interesting is that Kawasaki is not just competing in one field. They are creating an entirely new product category 1 where, at least for the next few years, they may not have any direct competitors. But that is also a double-edged sword. If there are no competitors, there's also no one to share the cost of building the infrastructure. And if Kawasaki moves too slowly, someone else could step in and take over that space before the market even fully forms. So in the end, the biggest question remains. Does Corleo really have the power to change the future, or will it just become a beautiful prototype sitting in an engineering museum? What would Corleo change if it succeeds? Let's put the challenges aside for a moment and run a thought experiment. If Kawasaki solves all of these technical and commercial problems, what happens? What would Corleo's real impact on the world be? Application 1 is rescue and disaster response. This is what many robotics experts see as the most important near-term use case. When an earthquake destroys infrastructure, when floods cut off roads, when a landslide blocks access to a mountain village, that is exactly when a machine like Corleo could prove its value in a way no other vehicle can. No road needed, no bridge needed. Just a surface it can place its feet on and Corleo can move. It could deliver medicine, emergency equipment, and even carry injured people out of danger zones. Application 2 is mountain agriculture and forestry. Across the United States, there are thousands of farms in hard-to-reach terrain places where tractors cannot go, where farmers still rely on horses or manual labor. If Corleo can be developed to carry a reasonable cargo load, it could become a real working tool for those communities and do it without gasoline and without the complicated maintenance of an internal combustion engine. Application 3 is ecotourism. Imagine a nature reserve where tourists can explore without using smoky jeeps. Corleo runs on hydrogen and creates no pollution. It is gentler on the terrain than wheels, and it offers a totally different experience, closer to nature, quieter, and much more unique. This could become a premium travel segment for people willing to pay for unusual experiences. Application 4 is military and security. This is an application Kawasaki has not officially talked about, but it is hard to avoid when analyzing the technology. A vehicle that produces no exhaust, moves quietly, crosses terrain wheeled vehicles cannot handle, and carries a soldier along with equipment. That combination is obviously attractive to the military. Some defense experts have mentioned this potential, but again, this is only speculation. Kawasaki has not revealed any official plans in that area. Then there is the impact on the vehicle and robotics markets. If Corleo succeeds, it could trigger a wave of investment and development in rideable robotic mobility. We could see startups focused on wheelless vehicles, traditional automakers redirecting resources, and most importantly, the growth of better, cheaper, and more accessible hydrogen infrastructure. Because once hydrogen is not just for sedans, but also for robots and off-road mobility, the economic reason to build hydrogen refueling infrastructure becomes much stronger. There's also the impact on how consumers see hydrogen. This may be the most subtle effect, but it is no less important. Right now, for most American consumers, hydrogen still feels abstract, a future technology they have heard about but never really experienced. Toyota Mirai is trying to change that, but a sedan is still too familiar to create a strong emotional reaction. Corleo, with its strange shape, lifelike movement, and completely different riding experience, might do what Mirai could not: make people genuinely curious and excited about hydrogen as an energy source. And Kawasaki, where do they fit into all of this? Kawasaki Heavy Industries is not just a motorcycle company. It is a major industrial group with annual revenue of more than 1 trillion Japanese yen. It is active in aerospace, producing parts for Boeing, including fuselage sections, doors, and wings. It designs and builds Shinkansen trains and metro systems for New York and Washington, D.C. It works in energy, shipbuilding, and precision engineering. And since 1968, it has been the first Japanese company to enter the field of industrial robotics, partnering with Unimation, the world's first industrial robot manufacturer. In other words, when Kawasaki bets on a technology, it's not just acting on temporary excitement. It is betting with the resources, experience, and infrastructure of a company that has existed for nearly 130 years. Its Hinotori surgical robot is already being used in real hospitals to support minimally invasive surgery. Corleo is being developed alongside humanoid robotics projects designed to work in dangerous environments in place of humans. This is not a company trying to impress the internet with one viral video. This is a company building the future in a very Japanese way, slowly, systematically, and with a long-term vision. We've gone through a long journey from a simple question about Kawasaki's robot horse to the bigger picture of an industry being reshaped. Corleo, at this moment, is still a prototype. It has no price tag, no launch date, no infrastructure to support it, and the road from the Osaka Expo to the hands of everyday consumers is still long, difficult, and uncertain. But one thing cannot be denied. Corleo is asking a question the transportation industry has never really answered. Are wheels truly the best form of movement for humans? Or are they simply the form we got used to because we never had a better option? Kawasaki is saying, there is a better option, and it runs on hydrogen. The future is still uncertain. Maybe Corleo will become the symbol of a new era. Maybe it will be an important step that still cannot overcome real-world barriers. We will find out in the next few years as Kawasaki continues pushing the prototype through real-world testing, and as the market begins to decide whether this is the future or just a beautiful dream. What about you? If Corleo becomes commercialized and the price is reasonable, would you want to ride one? Or do you still believe wheels are king? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. I read every comment, and I really want to hear your point of view. If this video helped you discover something interesting you did not know before, hit the like button and share it with your friends. That is the best way to support the channel and help videos like this reach more people. And if you want to keep following deep dive analysis about technology, next generation mobility, and future energy, subscribe right now. We will have more exciting stories coming in the next videos. See you in the next one.